Hello and welcome back to Bamboo Batu. Today I'm super excited to tell you about black bamboo. Black bamboo is one of the most popular kinds of bamboo, and here I'm going to tell you about it. Today we are recording on location from an undisclosed site. Um, it's actually my spare bedroom, and unfortunately I was unable to be recording live at an exotic location this week. But that's okay. Sometimes it's just nice to be at home. So that's where I am. I'm going to tell you about black bamboo. There's a lot of people loving their black bamboo, and there's some amount of confusion about black bamboo, but it is considered to be one of the more beautiful species. But there are actually several species which are black, and so that is the source of the confusion. So usually when people talk about black bamboo, if they're in the United States or in Europe, where you grow temperate bamboo that's cold hardy, that can tolerate the winters with the snow. It's going to be a running species of bamboo, which is going to be Phyllostachys nigra. Phyllostachys is the genus, really popular, really common, that is. It's a running bamboo. It is cold hardy. There's about 60 or 80 species of Phyllostachys, I think. There's a whole lot of them. I don't know exactly how many, but there are quite a few that are popular as ornamentals, and they grow really fast. They grow really well. They spread a lot. They've got the running rhizomes that spread a whole lot, and so you kind of have to be careful for that. You might want to build a rhizome barrier or something. But if you want something that's going to fill in and really fill in and really keep filling in, this is a good way to go for like a privacy screen or something. It's got those really pretty black culms on there, hence the name black bamboo. It's more like dark brown, really, but we don't want to split hairs too much. So, characteristics of Phyllostachys nigra as opposed to others. It's a Phyllostachys. Phyllostachys always have a couple of features. One of them is the branching pattern. So you see, there's like if up at the top, there's the branches coming off. There's two branches coming off at the node. That's pretty normal. Sometimes there might be some little small ones kind of splitting off, but it's basically two primary um, branches that come off at the node, and they come off on alternating sides. And the side where the nodes, the side where the branches are coming off, if you look above where the branches come off, if you follow upwards, there's a little groove, a little indentation along the culm there, along the pole, that's really characteristic of bamboo that you seem to find a lot, but it's really pretty much on Phyllostachys. You sometimes see it elsewhere. I used to think it was like if you saw the sulcus groove, it's called the sulcus groove. If you saw that groove, then you would know it's Phyllostachys. But it turns out there's sometimes you get that groove on other varieties of bamboo. But usually, if you see that, it's a Phyllostachys, and it's a good way to know that you've got a running bamboo as opposed to a clumping bamboo. So that's kind of helpful. Here's a better view of those two branches I was talking about, another close up. Um, really nice picture there. That's getting more on the black side from the dark brown into the black. There's a little bit of a ring there around the nodes, around the nodal joint. That is, so you get a little bit of a lighter color around the node, the joint. So that's something that kind of adds to the beauty of the bamboo. The leaves and the leaf structure of Phyllostachys is going to be different from other varieties of black bamboos. You can see there what the leaves look like. It's a little bit hard to describe. You kind of just have to look at it and say, okay, yeah, those are the leaves. And then if you look on here, we've got these aren't the leaves yet, but these are another species of black bamboo. So as you got the dark brown and black poles, they come up early, kind of greenish, and then they get darker with time and get from dark brown into kind of shiny black with this species. This is bambusa lako. It is a tropical, subtropical bamboo. It's really more on the tropical side. Bambusa, there's about 100 something species of bambusa, I think, in that genus. And some of them are pretty subtropical, so they can handle like a little bit of a frost, a little bit of a freeze in the winter, but not too much. They'll do pretty well in real kind of mild climates. California, for example, they're great all up and down the West Coast, actually up into Washington, even. Bambusas generally do pretty well. But this is one of the more tropical varieties of bambusa. as opposed to the other ones we would refer to as more subtropical. But this one really belongs more like down in Florida or something, or maybe Southern California and San Diego or something, but maybe around the Gulf Coast, maybe in Texas and Alabama, somewhere pretty warm where you're not going to have much of a frost in the winter, and you got some heat and humidity most of the year. These do pretty well. So these are clumpers. This is the best way to tell the difference between this and Phyllostachys nigra. Have people send in pictures sometimes saying, "Oh, look, I got black bamboo. It must be Phyllostachys nigra." And it's like, "Oh, well, where do you live?" "Oh, you live in Uganda." Well, in Uganda, you probably have more tropical bamboo than running bamboo. The tropical ones tend to be clumpers as a general rule, but there's of course exceptions. And the temperate, cold hardy ones tend to be runners. So, but you can tell by the clumping nature of the poles. So the picture on the left, I think, is Uganda. The other one on the right is in Thailand. That's kind of a younger clump there, so it's not filled in very well. It looks like it needs more water or something because the poles are kind of bent a little bit, which isn't really a normal characteristic of the species. Some species they do that zigzaggy thing, and that's one way to identify. But this is not really characteristic of the species. It's kind of an indication of stress, I would say, in this particular case. Here's another picture of Phyllostachys for comparison. So it's a running bamboo. You see, it's like forms a forest. There's not like a dense clump and then a few outlying poles, but it's just they're all spread out. Well, they're pretty close together, but they're evenly distributed to form this forest. Really beautiful grove there. Not sure where that picture came from, but you can see some of the poles are still kind of green. Those are probably the younger ones, and then as they age a little bit, they'll get brown and blackish. Again, like bambusa lako, they have that kind of a white ring around the node. It's something you see on most black bamboo varieties. So don't look at the ring and say, "Oh, that's got the white ring. It must be blah blah blah." It's it could be anything with a white ring. And when it comes to identifying bamboo species, also it's really hard because you see it growing someplace, and then you go over the hill, or you travel a couple hours south or north or something, and see the same species, and it doesn't look the same. So, and you think, "Oh, well, this isn't the same because I saw it over here, and it had, the leaves were more like this, and the color of the poles was more like that." And yeah, it's really hard to tell. The best way to tell is looking at the new shoots when they come up. You can look at the fresh shoots, and you can look at the culm sheath, that kind of wrapping paper that comes on the new shoots that peels off after the first year. Usually, that that paper wrapper is called a culm sheath. And if you study that, you can identify the species. But then you really have to know what you're looking at with a culm sheath. It's a bit it's a bit like bamboo nerd level, which is like right up my alley. But the bamboo shoots, the fresh shoots that come up, that's a probably easier way to tell. But black bamboo is not that hard to identify. It's black poles and it's a runner. You kind of know that it's Phyllostachys nigra. There's another picture here. You can see the sulcus groove a little bit better, the little indentation I was talking about. It's got the nice little nodal joints there, a little bit pronounced. Some species have really smooth joints where you barely notice a little ridge there, but the Phyllostachys tend to have a bit more noticeable ridge. What else? Here's another beautiful shot of some bamboo lako. I think this is the same shot from, I want to say, Uganda, but I'm not sure. So you can see the culm sheath on there. It's like about to come off. It's just barely attached. It's got the little pointy thing at the top that's called the culm blade. And yeah, if you study those, you can identify one species from another. If you look at the leaves on here, the leaves look quite a bit different than the Phyllostachys leaves. These are the big bambusa leaves on here. Also, the branching structure I was talking about on the Phyllostachys, you had two branches coming off at the node. On a bambusa, if you look at how the branches come off, they always grow out of the around that nodal joint. But if you count the number of shoots that come off, the number of branches, sorry, there's two main branches on a Phyllostachys. On a bambusa, you get like a big old cluster. You can get several kind of equally sized branches coming off. So if you see a big cluster like that, it's an indication that it could be a bambusa. There might be several branches and one that's bigger than the rest, but you're not going to get the pair of branches that's really the classic indicator of a Phyllostachys. So the leaves on here are quite a bit different. Again, you can see how it's a tight clump. It's real dense in the middle. It's not a super tight clumper. Like some clumpers are just like this real dense thicket. You can't even get in there. This one's kind of medium density. Some clumps are pretty loose and spread out, even to the point where it's hard to tell if it's a clumper or a runner. But this one, it's pretty clear that it is a clumper. And if you look at the nodal joints, like I was saying on the Phyllostachys, that had that real distinct ridge. These here it's a little bit smoother where that nodal joint is. And here's back to the Phyllostachys nigra. This is a really nice shot. Yeah, see the leaves look a bit different. The color of the leaves can be different. The size of the leaves can be different depending on the climate and the amount of rainfall and things like that. But just like how they're ordered, how they're organized, how they grow off of the branches. That's what you can look at to get an idea when it comes to identifying species. Excuse me. Bambusa lako again. You see this clump is pretty spread out, but there is clearly a center to the clump there in the middle, and then it spreads out. And this is clearly a tropical setting. You can see the jungle in the background. So a tropical bamboo is not going to grow too well in a cold place. If you try to grow it in, I don't know, Virginia or New York, or certainly not in Minnesota or Wisconsin or something like that, or Germany, it's not going to do very well. The Phyllostachys, on the other hand, they'll grow well in the cold climates, but they'll also grow in the tropical climate. So you'll find some Phyllostachys growing in tropical areas sometimes. Um, it's not as common though, for sure. And some of them don't like it too well, but there's definitely some Phyllostachys growing in Africa, for example. But it's usually going to be something like a Phyllostachys aurea, one of those really common species. There's big forests of that in like Cameroon, for example. Um, yeah, little bamboo trivia. So, cool thing about Phyllostachys nigra is there's actually, to make the taxonomy of bamboo more complicated, there are actually several subspecies of Phyllostachys nigra. One of them being Phyllostachys nigra henonis, usually called henon, Henon, henon or henon. Not 100% sure how to pronounce that, but I know how to spell it, and that's what counts when you're writing about it. But yeah, henon or henon. It's also called giant gray, and it's Phyllostachys nigra, but as you can see, it's not actually black. In this case, it's more gray. But I have seen greener, much greener versions of henon. I've seen much more yellow henon as well. So again, it's really hard to identify a bamboo by the color of the pole in most cases, because it's just, yeah, it depends on how much sun exposure it gets, and the climate and water and a lot of other factors. So it can be pretty confusing. But this is henon here. It's pretty common. Grows really well. It's a timber bamboo. Grows really well in the U.S. It's pretty common in the Southeast, up to Tennessee and North Carolina. Another subspecies of Phyllostachys nigra is boreana. There's a beautiful grove of boreana. This is in Portugal. This is another one of my photos. So it's kind of got a grayish, kind of a spotty coloration on the culms, and that's pretty characteristic. I know I just said you can't really identify a bamboo by the color of the culms, but that kind of splotchy and greenish, grayish, brownish. I think they also call this one tiger bamboo. Akash over there in Portugal, I think he called it leopard bamboo. So one of those big carnivorous cats from Africa or Central America or something. Tiger bamboo or leopard bamboo. So yeah, it's kind of spotty. It's a real pretty one. It's a timber bamboo, and yeah, it's not quite so common. And there's quite a few other species. I think there's maybe 10 10 subspecies of Phyllostachys nigra. And one other fascinating characteristic, which I can't overlook, is the fact that all Phyllostachys nigras right now in 2024 and for the last couple of years, starting in 22, 23, have all been flowering. So this is a picture. The big picture there is a giant of Phyllostachys. That's a hen on bamboo that I saw in Paris in the spring of 2024, and it's flowering, full flowering. It's an impressive sight to see. I've since seen lots of more henons flowering in Portugal. I don't remember where else, but I've seen a lot of it flowering, and it's quite a sight to see. And then up in the corner there, that's a little bit more of a close up, so you can see the flowers. The flowers themselves aren't that, they're not like roses or magnolias or something. It's a grass. Bamboo is a grass, so the flowers look a bit more like wheat or rye or rice. Maybe would be comparable plants. That one in the corner, I'm not sure if that could be a henna. It might be Boreana. That's in Portugal. They had lots of plants flowering, and it's yeah. So when it goes into flower, it puts all the energy into the flowers and not into the vegetation. So you tend not to see so many shoots. The poles start to wither and languish and kind of die off. And then what happens after it's flowering is a point of debate among bamboo experts. Will it all die off, or will it recover after several years, or what should you do? The thing about nigra, I'm not sure about Boreana, but the nigras that have been flowering, they're not producing any seeds. So normally a plant would flower, and then the flower would dry up, and then you have seeds form in what's left there, like in a piece of fruit, for example. Apple tree flowers. Now it makes a big flower. The flower dries up, and then what's left is a little small fruit that grows into a bigger fruit, grows into an apple, and then it's ripe, and you pluck it, and then it's got a bunch of seeds on the inside. But there's no seeds with nigra, with a henon at least, and so it's a bit of a mystery. If all the plants are going to die off and there's no seeds, then it's going to disappear, right? But the other crazy thing is they only flower every 120 years or something like that. So the last time it flowered, we don't know exactly what happened because record keeping in the year 1900 ish just was not the same as record keeping in the age of information and data storage. And nowadays, people keep pretty good records of what's going on with their flowers and their bamboo and which species is which and which one's flowered when. And as long as there's not like a major crash of the internet and whatever storage devices, but who knows, 120 years from now, what kind of technology people are going to use to store their information. But that's a point of another story. So let's get on to the bamboo. Where were we? The next one here is another tropical bamboo. This one's kind of rare. This is a picture of my friend Mark. He's in Hawaii. He's from California, but he was in Hawaii visiting some tropical bamboo. This is Dendrocalamus asper hitam. Hitam is a black version of asper. So asper is a really common bamboo in the tropics for industrial purposes, for poles and other uses. It's a great bamboo for eating and for poles and construction. But this is a subspecies, which is black, very impressive, huge bamboo. You can see the new shoots there that are about 2 or 3 times as tall as my friend Mark. And they go up, really tall. So these get like 80 feet tall, maybe 100 feet tall. They're in Hawaii. They're going to grow really well. This is like kind of optimal growing conditions, wet, tropical. And they get a little bit of rain every day, a little bit of sun every day, and then probably a rainbow once a day, which is definitely beneficial for the health of your bamboo. Yeah, a little rainbow never hurts. And another tropical giant black bamboo, Giganticloa athrovilioceae. Villaceae. This one's kind of a tongue twister, but it's a really pretty one. It is native to Java. This is Java black. So what was it? The other one, the other bambusa lako and Giganticloa atroviolaceae are really similar, pretty hard to tell apart. They're black, they're smooth, they're shiny, they've got the little white ridge there. The leaves of a Giganticloa are kind of similar to the leaves of a bambusa, a little bit different. Unless you're a real expert, you're gonna have a hard time telling these apart. The branching structure is similar as well between Dendrocalamus, Shiganticloa, and bambusa. They all have the branches splitting off like multiple branches, with sometimes one larger branch, but lots of branches coming off at the nodes. The branches on these three that we've been looking at, these black tropicals, the branches don't really start till about halfway up. So you get nice smooth bamboo on the bottom half, which is really pretty. And then there are lots of branching up above, so it gets all bushy higher up. Not so many branches down below. So yeah, this one's called Java Black. The bambusa lako is known as Timor Black. So both of them native to a couple specific islands of Indonesia. Timor, I guess Timor is now its own country, West Timor, and then there's Timor Leste, which is part of Indonesia, I think. You can double check that on Wikipedia, but basically the islands in and around Indonesia. Java is definitely in Indonesia, but there's few places in the world better suited for growing tropical bamboo than Indonesia. So yeah, those are some black bamboos. As you can see, there's lots of beautiful varieties out there. If you're in North America, you're probably growing Phyllostachys nigra, but maybe down in Florida, you can grow these tropical ones. If you're Southern California, like San Diego-ish, maybe LA area, you can grow some of these tropical ones. They're not going to grow as well as they do in Hawaii, but you can probably keep them going. Finally, one other version of black bamboo. Can't end a video without mentioning biochar. This is biochar. No better way to make your bamboo black than pyrolysis for a couple hours in the kiln, and it'll turn any bamboo black. This is actually Thai bamboo. This is Pai Liang. The species is Phyllostachys liang. It's an exotic species, but it's grown all over Thailand. Lots of it there, and they make biochar with it, and it's beautiful, and it turns nice and black. And you break it in half. You can see the poles. You can see it's obviously bamboo. And you pick it up. It's real lightweight. You snap it in half, and it goes clink like glass. It's really nice, high quality bamboo. Big shout out to my friends Comb and Nui out there in Thailand making the super bamboo biochar with wampai. And that is the story today about black bamboo. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to know more about bamboo, check out my website, bamboobatu.com. Check out my videos. I also do private consultations and whatnot. If you send me an email, I may or may not respond because I get a lot of people sending me email. So if I haven't replied to your email, I apologize. But hey, I've got hundreds of free videos, hundreds of free articles. So take advantage of that. And happy gardening, people. Thanks for watching.